Hey, what's going on? Once again, we're here with another Louisiana Kayak Fishing Forecast. This is for the week of July 17th through the 18th. So Saturday and Sunday only, as I have been doing for the past more than a year actually. I was going to say year. But what I do here and what I give you guys is the same exact thing that I use in my business. I'm a full-time kayak fishing guide, have been since 2012, and I'm on the water a lot. So this is the same information that I use to know exactly where to go, regardless of if I'm guiding clients or if I'm going out on my own. Now, what this forecast does, it's not going to automatically put fish in your net, fish in your ice chest, fish on your lap, fish on your measuring device. No, you still have to get out there and do some work. You still got to know what to do when you're in these areas, but what this forecast does is it gets you into places where the fish are feeding. It is all based on water and weather conditions, and like I said, it's going to put you right where you need to be. It also tells you, I'm telling you every week, where you don't want to be. Don't go to these places. I've had a couple people message me in the last few weeks who have said I should have listened to the report, but I was hard-headed, or something along those lines. They went where I actually said don't go here, and they didn't have good days. So yeah, stick to the guidance and you'll be okay. If not, I mean, you're free to do what you want, of course, but most people have tough days. It takes a really strong angler to be able to go into an area and catch a fish or two when things are not right. Takes some luck as well. I've been there. I've had that happen. I know that is not where I want to be, and I don't want you guys there. Most of the time we waste our time, gas, money, other resources. So yeah, I try to get you guys to skip that, and so you can have a better time out on the water being around fish that are biting. So yeah, let's get into it. This is the forecast, like I said, for July 17th through the 18th. We're going to start off with the Eastern Fishing Outlook. This is for the Eastern region. That region spans from Venice, Louisiana to the Mississippi state line. It reaches up into the Lake Pontchartrain area. So Slidell, Madisonville, all through there. So this weekend, there's a moderate chance for thunderstorms Saturday throughout the entire region. Rain chances are 40% Saturday, and there's a slight chance on Sunday at 20%. Winds are at 5 to 10 miles per hour both days, which is a good thing. It's really good. Last week, a lot of the locations that were poor, that fished poor, the reasoning was because of low salinity. This weekend, it's more to do with poor water movement. There is a spot actually that has both poor water movement and low salinity. That is not where you want to be, believe me. So we're going to start off with the first location where you should not be this week if you're fishing the Eastern region. Once again, that's from Venice to the Mississippi state line. The first place is going to be Venice, but only on Saturday. There's a couple spots here where it is only Saturday, and I'm going to let you know it's just Saturday when I call these names out. The reason is because we're coming off of a certain moon phase that flattens the tidal range. So just a couple of days ago, there was like almost no water movement in some of these areas. So Saturday is the first day where we're getting out of that moon phase and we're starting to move toward another moon phase, and it is allowing the tidal movement to become a little bit better. But Saturday isn't the better day out of Saturday, out of Saturday and Sunday. Sunday's a better day as far as water movement, all along the coast. But so in this report, not just for the Eastern region, but there'll be other regions where poor locations are due to poor water movement only on one day, only on Saturday and not on Sunday. But there are a couple where it's poor both days. So this is where it kind of gets confusing, and it becomes a lot of work if you're doing this on your own, because if you're trying to decide between 2 or 3 spots, it's a lot of stuff to look up, a lot of data to crunch and figure out what's actually going on out there when you try to change those numbers that you're looking at into actual experiences out there on the water. So yeah, Venice is not where you want to be Saturday. Like I said, the tidal range is very minimal, meaning there won't be a lot of water movement in the area on Saturday, so it's going to result in a very tough bite. Um, yeah, so stay out of Venice. Another place like that just on Saturday is going to be Delacroix. Sunday things are much better, which I'll discuss further in a few seconds. And then our third location is the Lake Pontchartrain area. It's definitely out. This is where I was talking about, where the salinity is low and there's not going to be any water movement, or very little I should say, around Lake Pontchartrain. This is like North Shore area, Twin Spans, Highway 11 bridge down on into Irish Bayou. Anywhere in Lake Pontchartrain that you would think about fishing, it's just not happening right now. It's not this weekend. So stay out of there. And let's see here. So that was Lake Pontchartrain is actually both days, not just Saturday. So both days stay off the lake this weekend. In a weekend coming up, probably won't be next weekend either, but in a future weekend, things will be okay to get out there on the lake and do your thing. But this isn't the weekend to do it, and it may be tempting because just like last weekend, winds are only blowing at 5 to 10 miles per hour. So a lot of anglers look at the lake. A lot of people live around the lake or have a very short drive to the lake, and they think, well, I'm just going to go over there. I don't feel like driving way down to the coast. But you'll do better driving down to the coast, driving another hour or so, hour and a half, instead of staying by the house and having a tough time out there not catching anything. So yeah, those three places are where you do not want to be this weekend in the eastern region. And now we're going to get into the productive locations. The productive locations are split by time. The first set of locations is going to be the places that you can fish, places that I am suggesting where there will be feeding fish during the morning hours. So the first location is going to be Delacroix, but on Sunday. So Delacroix is going to be a really good location for people who are looking to catch some redfish. And the time range that you'll have the best luck is between safe light, so when it's safe enough to launch and you can see yourself and other people can see you, like power boats, from safe light to early afternoon. The tide is going to be an incoming tide, and the tide range is going to be about it's going to be a little less than a foot. So the fish are going to be feeding pretty good out there in Delacroix. Shouldn't have any issues if you go during that time range and you do things that you should be doing with an incoming tide. Venice is going to be the second place, once again on Sunday, because Saturday for both of these locations are terrible. Venice, you're going to want to start fishing Venice slightly after sunrise, and that window will be open until late afternoon. In Venice, things are a little bit different. It's going to be an outgoing tide, but in Venice, the tide is like a little more than a half a foot. So the bite throughout the day, you may have to bet. The best thing for you to do in Venice is to get out there and cover some water. These fish are going to be they're going to be roaming a little bit, but you're going to have to search. You'll do better by searching than waiting on fish to come to you, because the tide isn't really strong. And these fish aren't going to go too far. They're not going to, when they're roaming, they're not going to go all that far. So it'd be better for you to do the roaming, and just keep an eye out for if you're targeting redfish, keep an eye out for signs of fish being in the area. Your speckled trout, you're going to want to position around some cover, so something that's going to break up the tide a little bit, but they're going to move also because this tide isn't strong. It's going to allow them to roam as well. And flounder, they're going to be in their normal places. So broken marsh, any kind of irregularities in the shoreline, and of course the mouths of any kind of bayou or any opening where water is moving. So Those are always the top 3 places that you want to look for flounder. Let's see, the third place is going to be Port Sulphur. Port Sulphur is good on Sunday, so later in the morning hours to late evening. So you have quite a while to fish Port Sulphur if you're fishing there. It's going to be an outgoing tide. The tide range, you can do this on both days, but the tide is better on Sunday. So if you only have one day to fish, or if you don't, on Saturday you might have to really spend some time out there to get close to a limit of redfish. So my suggestion for Port Sulphur is to go on Sunday if that day is open for you. And like I said, it's going to be late morning to late evening. And the tide is going to be just under a foot. So there's a big difference. Saturday, the tide is under half a foot. Sunday, the tide is just under a foot. So that's a huge difference on the water. These fish are going to be a lot more active. They're going to be feeding really well. So you should do good if you go to Port Sulphur if you want to fish along Highway 23. That's the place to be. And that's for a morning start, if you're looking for a morning start. So now we're going to get into the locations that will be productive during the hours around noon or afternoon. And the first one is going to be Delacroix on Sunday. That's right, I just said Delacroix, right? I said Delacroix for morning, right? Yep. It's going to be afternoon as well. Delacroix has a double tide this week. So in the morning hours you can fish an incoming tide, and in the afternoon hours you can fish an outgoing tide. In the afternoon, that outgoing tide is a better tide range than the morning's tide. It begins late afternoon and it will extend until dark. The tide range is going to be a foot, so a foot of water moving in the later parts of the day. The fish, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but early morning and late afternoon, late evening, moving into sunset, those 2 times are the best times to be out on the water. For some reason the fish just light up, man. They come out and they are feeding hard. I've had a lot of trips that I've had to leave fish biting because I needed to get back to the launch. It's getting too dark. So yeah, Delacroix is going to be a place like that on Sunday. And like I said, you can catch the incoming tide in the morning and the outgoing tide in the late afternoon hours. Second place is going to be Shell Beach. So Shell Beach is a good place for Saturday and Sunday if you're looking for a place to fish sometime after noon. Shell Beach, the window of opportunity there is going to be from noon until dark. It's going to be an outgoing tide, and just like Delacroix, in Shell Beach, the water movement, the tide is going to be better on Sunday. Saturday is going to be around a half a foot, and Sunday is going to be just below a foot. So same thing there. The fish are going to be a lot more aggressive and willing to bite. It's going to be a better bite on Sunday. Third place is Hopedale. Saturday and Sunday will be good in Hopedale. It's going to be noon until dark. Outgoing tide, around the same range for the tide. So Saturday, you're looking just below a half a foot of water movement. Sunday is going to be the better. It's going to be the place to find better water movement on Sunday. If you're in the Hopedale area, if you're wanting to fish that, Sunday is going to be better. About 8/10 or 8/10. About, what would that be? Probably about 10 inches of water should fall out of Hopedale on Sunday. So that's going to be a really good bite. And if you're looking to go down there and fish the rock wall, I'm sure you could scratch up some smaller specks. They're always there. But that marsh area right across from the launch would be a good place to poke around for some redfish. And of course, flounder are going to be in that area as well. We're later into the year, so the flounder have moved up, and they're in there. So get after it. So the final and fourth and final place is going to be the north end of Lake Bourne. This is going to be around. Bear with me. I'm trying to think of the name. Chef Pass, around that area, but be careful in the pass. Don't go in there. It's really, really fast moving water. On Sunday, the north end of Lake Bourne is going to fish really well. It's going to be about a foot of water moving out of the pass. So it's going to fire the fish up on that north end. It's going to be good from noon until dark. So that is a really good place as well to catch an outgoing tide. Like I said, on Sunday from noon until dark. So those locations are better suited for anglers looking to target redfish because those places are further inland. Like I said, with Hopedale, you can come across some specks that far inland, but those specks are going to be the fish that hang back and don't migrate. These are going to be undersized fish. The larger quality specks, most of them have moved on and have moved out of the area and have already migrated out of there. They're into their summer migration. So they're not going to be further inland in these places. Like I said, if you catch them, they're going to be the resident nursery fish that are feeding to get larger, to grow up, to be able to join the rest of the group during that migration. So with that said, you'll have to filter through a lot of smaller fish to catch to have some keepers, but it can be done. Now we're going to move on into the central region, and we have the central fishing outlook now. That's central region is from Houma over to Grand Isle. I say Grand Isle, but it extends on over to Port Fourchon up to Leeville, actually up to Cutoff. So that area there is the central region. So for the central region, we have low wind speeds, but there's moderate rain coverage at 40%, and that's going to be on Saturday and Sunday in the central region. The following locations in the central region are places to stay away from. We're going to begin with a big one. You do not want to be in Point of Shane. There won't be much water moving at all on Saturday in Pac. So that means the bite is going to be very tough. Sunday, there's a possibility to get a couple fish in the net, but it's going to be a struggle. The water is still not moving all that well in Point of Shane on Sunday either. So if I were you, I know Point of Shane is a hot spot. It's a place where a lot of anglers like to go, but I'd skip Point of Shane this weekend if I were you. I'd go elsewhere. And I'll have some spots for you in a minute, but we're going to continue covering these terrible locations. The next three are the same three from last week. We have Golden Meadow, Galliano, and Cutoff. So this is areas east of LA 3225. So from Golden Meadow, that's going to be from LA 3225 to Hackberry Bay. So there's some marsh there, and then you start getting into bay systems when you go east from LA 3225. In Galliano, same thing, east of LA 3225 to Grand Bayou. It's another bay or lake that's above Golden Meadow. And then the furthest north that most people fish, Cutoff, areas east of LA 3225 to Little Lake. All that area in there is fresh. One thing that I have seen for those three areas is that the salinity ticked up just a tad, but it's still really fresh, and there's not going to be any really good fishing in there at all. So if you're wanting to fish that stretch from Cutoff down to Golden Meadow, the better bet is to hop on the west side of LA 3225. I kind of said this last week, but on the west side of LA 3225, there isn't any types of fresh water that can pour in from the north. So that area to the west stays salty when the area to the east is fresh. So that's it for the terrible locations in the central region. We're going to move on to the productive locations, and we're going to start off with the productive locations for you if you're wanting to get out in the morning and get out there early and get it done. The first place is going to be Cocodrie. So Cocodrie is going to fish well on Sunday, or better on Sunday than Saturday. The bite is going to be better, or the window of opportunity, I should say, when fishing is going to be good is mid-morning to late afternoon. There's going to be an outgoing tide, and like I said, Sunday is going to be the better day. Tide range is just below a foot of water on Sunday. On Saturday, it's half a foot of water, and it's kind of the same thing that was going on over in the eastern region. Central region is doing it as well. Saturday's just a day where we're moving out of a terrible moon phase. We're getting back into better water movement, but it really begins on Sunday. That Sunday's the first day where the water's kind of getting back to normal as far as its movement. So Saturday, it's not that you can't get it done. You can get out there and catch some fish, but you're going to fish a lot harder on Saturday versus Sunday. So if you only have one day to fish this weekend, make it Sunday, and just skip Saturday. You'll have a lot better luck out there. But Cocodrie, yeah, Sunday mid-morning to late afternoon, like I said, outgoing tide. Sunday the better day with the tide range just under a foot of water moving out of that area. Point of Shane was terrible on Saturday, but on Sunday, Point of Shane's going to fish okay. The window of opportunity is from safe light, so whenever you can get out there and you feel it's safe to launch, you can see. This is kind of before sunrise, when you can see and when other people can see you. Out in Point of Shane, you're going to have an outgoing tide there as well, but the tidal flow is going to be just under a foot of water. Like I said, you can get it done, but it's going to be rough, and that's kind of why in the other just a second ago I was saying it's probably best to skip pack altogether. But if you're just adamant about it, you can get out there. If you're just wanting to catch like a fish or two for dinner and you don't live too far, Point of Shane isn't too far of a drive for you, you can get out there and get it done. But if under any kind of circumstances other than that, you want to go elsewhere. Leeville is going to be the third place on this list. Leeville is good for Saturday and Sunday. Mid-morning to late evening is the window of opportunity. There's going to be an outgoing tide. For Saturday, you're looking at a tide range of right around half a foot, a little better than half a foot. On Sunday, the window of opportunity is mid-morning to late evening. It's also going to be an outgoing tide. There's a foot of water moving out of that area on Sunday, which makes Leeville a really good place to go if you are in that area. You're headed down Highway 1, and and you're looking for somewhere to go on Sunday. Leeville will be good on Sunday. Moving on to Grand Isle. Grand Isle is a good place to fish on Sunday. 2 hours after sunrise until late afternoon is going to be the window of opportunity there. It's going to be an outgoing tide, and tidal range is going to be just under a foot of water. So Grand Isle is going to be a good place to go on Sunday. The fifth and final place is going to be Port Fourchon. Fourchon is good Saturday and Sunday. Slightly after sunrise to early evening is going to be your window of opportunity. This is where the fish in that area is going to be biting the best. There's going to be an outgoing tide. On Saturday, you're going to have a little more than a foot of water moving through that area, but on Sunday, you're going to have a foot of water. So Sunday is a better day, and with an outgoing tide down there, there should be some really good speck action going on still, some redfish going on, and the flounder should be around. Flounder is going to be a bit spread out, so they all are always a little tough to catch down in that area from Grand Isle to Fourchon. That stretch is better for redfish and speckled trout, especially specks during this time of year. So yeah, get on out there if you're in that area, in the central region. You're looking for some places to go. There's 5 good spots where you could go. Cocodrie, Grand Isle, and Leeville. Those 3 places are just okay on Saturday. Just keep that in mind. So if you're looking to just get a fish or two, and you're not looking for a limit, you're not looking for a day where you can get out there and just catch until your arms are hurting, Cocodrie, Grand Isle, and Leeville would be an okay places to go just on Saturday if that's all you want to do. But if you're after any other kind of experience, then those last 5 places on those days are where you want to be. So if you want to get it done in this central region, you're gonna have to get it done in the morning. Next week, I'm sure there will be some locations that allow you to get out there in the afternoon, but we'll have to wait and see on that. So we're gonna move right on into the western region. This is the Western Fishing Outlook, and the western region is from the Texas state line on over to Pecan Island. Once again, low winds this weekend and moderate rain chances for Sunday. So keep an eye on the rain in the western region. Make sure if you're going out on Sunday that you check out the weather forecast before you get out there, just to make sure that the rain isn't too much for you, or it's not, hasn't increased. As of now, I think I want to say it was like 40% in an area or two. So just to double check me, check out the group. I have the exact coverage in there, rain coverage for the western region. All right, so we're going to get into the locations in the western region that you should not fish this weekend. There aren't many, just the normal 2 that there have been for the last, I don't know how many weeks now. Last week we had more than 2, but this week we're only down to 2. It's going to be Lake Charles and Preen Lake. Those areas are still really, really fresh. There hasn't been anything that moved, anything of significance to move a lot of salty water from the Gulf up Lake Calcasieu through all the areas above Lake Calcasieu to Lake Charles. There hasn't been enough of anything to move the water with enough salinity to correct what's going on up there. In prior weeks, the Calcasieu River has dumped lots and lots of fresh water out of areas above Lake Charles. So Lake Charles and Preen Lake are still trying to recover, and it's not looking good. So stay out of those areas this weekend. Go further south if you're right around there or we're planning to fish those areas, and you'll do a lot better. All right, so we have the productive locations for the morning hours. This is for the western region once again. First location that is going to be really good is going to be Cameron. So Saturday and Sunday, the window of opportunity is going to be mid-morning until late afternoon. There's going to be an outgoing tide way down in Cameron, and out of the 3 regions, this western region is the best region as far as water movement and a lot of other conditions that I've monitored. For the best bite this weekend, it's going to happen in this western region. These fish are going to be just aggressive. They're going to be ready to feed. And if you do what you know to do, you shouldn't have any problem catching a limit of reds or, a really good number of specks out there. So, like I said, Cameron, it's going to be mid-morning to late afternoon, outgoing tide. The tidal range down in Cameron is going to be, let's see, Saturday, 1.5 feet for Saturday. 1.5 feet of water moving out of the areas down there. Sunday, just under 2 feet of water. So some really good tidal movement. Just be careful down in Cameron if you do fish that area. There are jetties down there. When you get around 1.5 feet to 2 feet of water, or above 2 feet, that water really pushes through that area. And even in a pedal drive kayak, it is hard to go against the current down there. So just be mindful of that. And on days like this, the better thing to do is to move with the tide. If you can, get out there before the tide starts moving. Get into your location, fish it, and either be pushed back to the launch location and go with the tide, or you wait out that tide. If you were to somehow go south, you shouldn't go south if you're in Cameron, because if you do, you're in the Gulf. But that's Cameron for this weekend. It's going to be better for the morning hours. Second place is West Cove. Out there in West Cove, in the Cove, Saturday and Sunday. Window of opportunity is going to be the same, mid-morning till late afternoon. It's going to be an outgoing tide. The water is going to be a lot cleaner. That's going to be great for anglers fishing this area because you have a lot of reefs out there. These fish like to stack on reefs or right around reefs. When it comes to reef fishing, your reds are going to be tightest to the reef most of the time. You'll also get a chance at some flounder because they like to be on the edges of the reef. But your specks are going to hang off of the reef a little bit. So keep that in mind if you're out there in West Cove fishing this weekend and you're fishing the open water and you find you a good reef where the fish are stacked up. Tidal range is around the same, just above a foot of water on Saturday. On Sunday, you're looking more at about 1.5 feet of water moving out of that area. So some really good water movement down there. Some really aggressive bites going on this weekend. So it should be a good day for you out there. The third place where you could get into some really good fishing in the western region is going to be the coastal beaches from Cameron to Creole. This is for Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be a good window of opportunity between mid-morning and late afternoon. It's going to be an outgoing tide, so once that tide gets moving, that water is going to clear up probably about 20 to 30 minutes after it moves. After it begins moving, you start seeing that water really clean up, and this is really good for fish that like to fish by sight. Specks are notorious for sight fishing, or sight feeding, I should say. Most anglers have better luck fishing specks in clearer water than dirty water. So the coastal beaches would be a good place for that. And once again, about 1.5 feet of water on Saturday, moving out of those areas to just under 2 feet of water on Sunday. So Sunday's a better day for this western region if you're looking for really good bite, a really aggressive bite. But Saturday is not too shabby either. This fish will be feeding really well on Saturday as well. All right, so another place to try out, another suggestion for you is the Rockefeller Refuge. Rockefeller and the surrounding area is better for redfish. It's not all that great for specks unless there are some weirs open and some water moving out of the weirs, because it's usually cleaner water moving out of those weirs down there. But the only thing about the refuge and the surrounding area is that there are a lot of gators in the summertime. They don't bother you, but not unless you're fishing with a cork, right? But there are a lot of gators. I fished down there a lot. I haven't really caught a lot of big redfish, but there are some good sized reds, and sometimes you have to move around a bit for them. Sometimes they're right in the main canal. There's a lot of ponds down in that area, a lot of little cuts that are deep that also hold fish. The cuts between the main canals down there and the ponds. So you need, especially around the weirs. The weirs, anytime you're around those weirs, the water is usually a lot deeper. So a lot of good things in a small, compact area that you can fish. And like I said, if you're after redfish, that'll be a good place for you to try for Saturday and Sunday. The best window of opportunity is going to be mid-morning until late afternoon. Outgoing tide. Should be about 1 foot of water on Saturday to about 1.5 feet on Sunday down there around the refuge. So the fifth and final place for you to try this weekend is going to be Hackberry. Hackberry and the surrounding area will be best on Saturday. The window of opportunity is going to be early morning until noon. So probably around 4.5 hours of fishing. The thing about the Hackberry area, Hackberry there's a double tide going on down there. So this first tide, it's going to be an incoming tide, as a matter of fact. This incoming tide, you're going to catch about half of that tide. So there's only going to be a little more than 1/2 foot remaining on that tide range. Fishing there during the morning hours would be best for anglers anglers who either only have a few hours to fish and can only fish in the morning, or anglers who are going to dedicate the whole day to fishing and want to fish 2 different tide ranges. This is really good if you're trying to learn and use different tactics. If you know what to do on an incoming tide and you know what to do with an outcoming tide, as far as your tactics, a day like that where there's a double tide, locations where there's a double tide, it's good to get out there and practice and see if you can be right with what you do. It's a good way to improve really quick, because you're really getting like 2 days of fishing in one day. This is what I did early on to really improve. I fished a lot of places with a double tide. It allowed me to see how where the fish like to hang out on each tide direction. And it just really helped me to get better really fast. So down there in Hackberry, like I said, it's a double tide, half a foot in the morning, and then for the productive afternoon locations, the only place is going to be Hackberry. Everything else is morning. So Hackberry is going to be good in the afternoon hours as well, both Saturday and Sunday. So let me back up. For the morning, just on Saturday, Hackberry is going to be good. For the afternoon hours, Hackberry is going to be good both Saturday and Sunday. So for the afternoon window of opportunity in Hackberry, you're looking at early afternoon until dark. This is going to be an outgoing tide, and the tide range is a lot stronger. For Saturday, you're looking at a little more than a foot of water, about 1.25 feet of water. So that's about 15 inches of water that's going to move out of there. And then that's on Saturday. On Sunday, just shy of 2 feet of water moving out of Hackberry. That's a lot of water for Hackberry. So Hackberry and the surrounding area, the areas to the south, the areas a little bit to the north, those areas are going to fish really well on both days. If I had to choose between the two, I'd probably fish Sunday. I like fishing where there's a lot of water movement because it stages fish onto things in the water. You know, they like to it's easier to me because the fish like to get out of the current, and those places are predictable. You can see current breaks. You can, if you have a fish finder, you can find places where other anglers don't fish often or haven't fished in a while, that hold fish underwater out of sight. But if you don't, you can fish places that are visible, points, pockets. Sometimes there's things in the water that creates an eddy. When it comes to an eddy, you can see right off of the eddy where the water is just kind of like sitting there. It's a good place for fish to hang out. Sometimes they hang out in that eddy too. So those are just a few places that you can try with a really strong tide, like there's going to be Sunday in Hackberry and the area south of Hackberry. So yeah, that's it for this week. Actually, we're finishing up that western region this weekend. I just hope you guys can get out there and get some fishing done, catch some fish. If you do catch some fish, post up in the group your pictures, stories, whatever you'd like to talk about. Let's get some discussion going in here. All right, so until next weekend, I will see you guys. I hope you guys, like I said, can get out there and catch some fish, and I'll see you next week. All right, take it easy.